The controversy about Yasuke in the new Assassin's Creed game continues, and now a petition has been started by Japanese gamers who are completely opposed to Ubisoft, and they want to cancel Assassin's Creed Shadows. They accuse the game of being a serious insult to Japanese culture and history.
It is fair to point out that it's a petition, and change.org petitions are about as effective as, I don't know, something that's not effective.
Something that's not effective, yes.
Yeah. Well, as that attempted a joke.
A change.org petition has never actually changed anything.
No.
We already know that. But I wanted to read from the Japanese translation of what they said in this petition. Bounding into Comics did us the courtesy of translating it for us. But it says, recently a serious issue of historical accuracy and lack of cultural respect has been raised about game developer Ubisoft's upcoming release, Assassin's Creed Shadows. The game is based on the subject of Japanese samurai and ignores the fact that samurai are a higher class of samurai and should be gokemono, or servants of nobility. In fact, the first European to receive the title of samurai, William Adams, was a bannerman with 250 koku. Yep. It's a Japanese unit of measurement. Throughout this history, Ubisoft continues to misunderstand the nature and role of the samurai. This is a serious insult to Japanese culture and history and could lead to Asian racism. We demand that Ubisoft immediately stop the release of Assassin's Creed Shadows and show serious investigation and respect for Japanese history and culture. Your signature is needed. Sign this petition to let Ubisoft know the importance of cultural respect and historical accuracy. And another thing it called for is, at least if they don't cancel the game entirely, which of course they're not going to do, they should at least not advertise it as being historically accurate. They should very clearly disclaim it and say that this is based on, a fictionalized account.
Fictionalized account doesn't bother me, but when people start changing Wikipedia pages to match a narrative, you're effectively attempting to change the real world to fit a weird modern narrative that's just weirdly socio-political, and that's just dystopian.
One of the comments said, if it's fiction, I can forgive it. However, we absolutely cannot tolerate falsehoods as faithful to historical fact. And Yasuke was a great black samurai. If left unchecked and believed to be historical fact, the Japanese will be seen as trying to hide the fact that blacks were such great samurai, and it will become a story that the Japanese are discriminating against blacks. It is obvious, in fact, the overseas internet is already showing this trend. This is a falsification of Japanese history, an insult to the Japanese people, and clear discrimination against them.
It is true that it only takes one or two generations of the falsehood promulgating before the narrative starts to shift, and there's nobody left to remember what it was before these lies were shared.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that white Westerners, specifically Americans who were involved in making this game, are the ones who are obsessed with the idea of a black man being a samurai, which we're not going to get into all of the weeds about whether or not this is historical fact, although we did that on another episode. It's obviously being fabricated to fit a narrative that makes white Western people feel comfortable, that they can pat themselves on the back for a representation win. Because weirdly, Asian people are not seen as diverse enough. They're not seen as, that much of a minority in the eyes of white Western people. I even just saw a recent scandal because an Asian student who applied to Harvard was reportedly passed up because of his Asian heritage. And
I saw that.
He said, I had perfect test scores. I had all the extracurriculars, everything going for me. They didn't let me in because I'm not diverse enough. So I think that makes it pretty clear that, there's a cultural bias involved.
The threads on that were so depressing. It was a bunch of people basically telling this person he's a bad guy for simping for white culture.
Right.
And he's like,
they're like, you should stop trying to be a model minority. Yeah. That's what they tell him.
And he's like, nothing he said was about that. All he said was, my test scores were good. I did everything right. And I still didn't get what should have come to me.
Yeah. So I think that makes it pretty obvious that there is a cultural bias. from specifically the Americans who were involved in writing this game and designing it, because they're the ones who want to see this. I don't think that people in Japan particularly care about seeming woke.
Yeah.
Because they live in a racially homogenous society.
It is a very Western thing to deal with right now. That's not going to be something that you're going to experience in a lot of other cultures that are, that aren't as multicultural as America is.
But currently the petition is sitting at 41,000 signatures out of the 50,000 goal.
Yeah.
So it's getting a lot of attention.
And it does connect a little bit to what's going on with Denzel Washington over there. Obviously, Gladiator 2 is coming out soon, so there's a media push for the film going on right now. And there was these first images that were released of Denzel Washington. He plays a character named Macrinus. I believe that Macrinus is, I'm assuming is how you pronounce it. Now, there was a Roman emperor with that name, but that does not appear to be who he's playing based on the description they gave of the character, which says, he is a very wealthy man, says director Ridley Scott. He's beautiful. He drives a golden Ferrari, and I got him a gold-plated chariot. And they describe him as a power broker. Mm-hmm. So he's not given the title of emperor. And look,
it's not based on an actual historical figure, so you kind of get free reign to do whatever you want.
And I think it's kind of what I always say, right? If there is no appeal to the youth, this will get a lot less traction. Like, we certainly talked about Anne Boleyn like once on here, but it's not like that. And it's not like that. And the Cleopatra stories didn't just disappear as soon as they came. Right. When it's something that doesn't necessarily appeal to kids, they'll just leave it be and it goes, because it's like the fight for the soul of the next generation, right? You want to tell historically accurate, a certain group wants to tell historically accurate stories because that's what's fair, and the rest see it as politically expedient to change and then use creative license as a reason to change things, because they know you change it enough times throughout history, and certainly people will start to believe that your race swap changes are the truth. It's not what it is. So
this says, while many fans were excited to finally see photos of the film and speculate how it might compare to the original Gladiator, there were those who couldn't handle a world where a black man amassed so much power in the Roman Empire. Yeah. One tweet seems to be particularly upset about this character, writing, when they swap a fictional white character, their excuse is it's just fiction, not real. When they swap a historical white person, their excuse is it's just acting. They want to erase white people from history and corrupt our history. Another user can't fathom the idea of black people in other historical periods, writing, Roman era blacks? Yeah. This is just like their wet dream for the rage bait response that they wanted.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's Denzel Washington, and of course you want him in your movie regardless of whether it's historically accurate.
Correct.
That's going to get a pass no matter what you do with him.
Yep.
Even if he were playing somebody who was actually a historical figure.
It says, I read this one, it says, racists and bigots are going to lose their collective shit over this one. The internationally unread will not have learned that Rome had black emperors. They will pay no attention to the scores of white actors who have played a person of color, and that no one cared, which shows, and then it goes on. The point is race swapping has gone both ways tremendously. We all know that these days it goes mostly one way. Mm-hmm. So they're being a little bit picky and choosy about how they show their narrative here. Again, Denzel is Denzel. He's going to get a pass.
I mean, the real problem is that nobody cares to watch Gladiator 2. Yes. What, 20 years?
The real question is why did they make Gladiator 2 at all?
Yeah.
Right?
But maybe they need this to get attention on the project. Maybe they're just drumming up controversy for the sake of it because people aren't interested.
I did like this one part that they mentioned in this art. It was from The Root, where they talk about the idea of how it is a bit ridiculous at the idea of Ridley Scott being what they call woke. That's their words, not mine. Okay. Don't blame me. I did not use that language there. Let me see if I can find this here. It was really funny. See if I can go back here to The Root. There's the article.
Also, one person claimed that this character is a former slave who turned into a wealthy Roman citizen out for revenge. I don't know if that's actually true. It didn't say that in any of the articles.
But it could be true, but I have no idea.
But that seems like a very American story.
Doesn't it, though?
To write about the Roman Empire.
So it says, what makes the drummed up controversy even more ridiculous is the idea that Ridley Scott, of all people, is trying to be woke. The 86-year-old filmmaker isn't exactly known for including a lot of people of color in his projects. That's their words. In fact, he was questioned about casting mostly white actors for his 2014 biblical epic, Exodus, Gods and Kings, and he famously told Variety, "I can't mount a film of this budget where I have to rely on tax rebates in Spain and say that my lead actor is Mohammed, so on and so from such and such. I'm just going to go get it financed, so the question doesn't even come up." Well, we are in a very different world than we were in 2014. So that's not really a fair argument.
Okay, so someone did confirm that that character is a former slave. This says, before the woke comments start flooding in, although Denzel Washington isn't playing the main character, what is known about his role is very exciting. His character is playing a former slave who wants to use gladiators to take down the emperors, with him acting as a mentor figure to Paul Mescal's Lucius. It also seems that Denzel Washington's quest for revenge in Gladiator 2 was inspired by a character from the original film, Maximus. Much like Washington's character aspires to be, Maximus was a slave who revolted against the emperor. This shows how Maximus will live on in the heart of Denzel Washington's character.
It's funny, too, because they say that about Ridley Scott. Well, Ridley Scott worked with Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe in one of my favorite movies of all time, which is American Gangster. So I don't know what they're talking about with casting, but that's just how this article frames it.
Is he going to be enough of a draw for people to care about this movie?
I don't know if anything is a big enough draw for people to say, like, Gladiator 2 in the year 2024. We'll have to, I mean, who knows? We could be surprised by it. Like, maybe all the boomers have been saving up their energy to go to see this movie this year.
And Russell Crowe is just too old and fat now.
Not in shape enough anymore, unfortunately.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.